Disney recently announced the biggest overhaul to Carousel of Progress in decades. For some fans, that's exciting. For others, it's terrifying. How do you modernize one of Walt Disney World's most beloved attractions without losing the heart that made it special? Today, we're taking on that challenge with our 100th original Imagineering project on Idiot's Guide to Imagineering. Hello, ImagineIdiots. It's Steven, and welcome to episode 24 of season 4 of Idiot's Guide to Imagineering. Today is a pretty special episode because we are celebrating something I honestly never thought we'd reach, and that is our 100th original Imagineering project.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's
100.
right.
We've done 100 of these things.
100.
You knew we'd make it to 100. You'd never let us stop.
No, remember when he was
never
telling
let us
us
give up.
that if we made it to 4 podcast episodes, we're already ahead of the game, according
That's
to
right.
some article
Yeah.
he read.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Here we
true.
are, way more
Yeah.
than that over.
I never thought we'd sit down and imagine 100 brand new Disney projects. That felt impossible, but here we are. And for Project 100, we wanted to do something that felt bigger than just another attraction, something that represented everything that this show has become. And I cannot think of a more perfect project than the one we're tackling today, which is reimagining one of Walt Disney's most personal attractions, Carousel of Progress. And joining me today are 3 idiots who have been part of this journey from the very beginning: Katie, Marissa, and Jenny.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, Jenny.
Jenny,
Big episode today.
Jenny's a little nervous for this one. She opened the outline and said Carousel of Progress.
And she doesn't
Am I going to like this
see.
one? Well, of course, a huge shout out to Amanda as well, who couldn't be with us today, but she has been such a huge part in helping us reach this milestone.
100 original projects is kind of crazy when you think about it. That's 100 times we sat down and asked, what if Disney built this? And somehow people have continued listening to us answer that question.
Which honestly says a lot about our listeners, because you all have been willing to come along for every weird idea, every impossible blue sky concept, and every debate about whether something would actually work.
And I personally love that our 100th project is Carousel of Progress, because this show has really evolved over the last 4 seasons. Just like the attraction itself, every chapter has looked a little different, but the heart has stayed the same.
Exactly. And that's really the challenge that we're taking on today. And as you all already know, Disney recently announced their biggest overhaul to the attraction in decades. And that brings up this huge question. How do you modernize one of Disney World's most beloved attractions without losing the pieces that made people fall in love with it in the first place? So I wanted to take that on and imagine what that next chapter could look like. But first, let's talk about the journey that got us here, because when you really think about it, this show has kind of had its own Carousel of Progress. We've had 4 seasons, 4 different eras, the same group of idiots evolving along the way. And I think what's interesting is that every season had a different purpose. And so if you think about it, it's kind of like we're sitting and watching ourselves evolve. Season 1 is the 1900s, season 2 is the 1920s. I was kind of comparing us to the rooms. But season 1 to me really felt like we were just kind of proving to ourselves that this idea could work and trying to determine, can we create original projects that people would want to listen to? And we were learning the format. We were finding our rhythm. We were figuring out how this show was going to, evolve and what it would become.
Is your idea Carousel of Idiots?
It is.
Just a story of our
Idiots
lives.
of Progress.
Yes. Whew, season 1. Well, that was very much us trying to figure it out as we went. And very obviously so when I listen back to it, I have to cringe. I don't like it.
I listen back all the
Yeah.
time just to hear it, and it is.
Not to me. Don't listen to me.
It's definitely
It's rough.
different.
The audio
Yeah.
quality alone was
Yeah.
Yeah.
something.
Agreed. There are some cringe moments, yeah, but I think then season 2 was when we started to kind of find our voice. We weren't just creating attraction ideas anymore. We were really starting to understand what made an Imagineering project feel like a Disney project, and really putting the story back into it and how much that mattered, and how much the guest experience mattered, and the little details mattered. And then season 3 was where I feel like we really started pushing ourselves creatively, and the projects got bigger and more ambitious. We started really grounding them more in reality, like we say every single week, and started thinking about things like, where would something fit? How would guests move through this space? How would operations work? And whether Disney could actually build these ideas.
Yeah, I think that was probably the moment where we stopped being just fans pitching things that we wanted to see and coming up with cute names for things. And we really started thinking more like designers.
Yeah, I agree. And I think season 4 has really been the biggest evolution that we've had yet. This season, more than ever, I think we've challenged ourselves to approach these projects from an Imagineer's perspective. And instead of just thinking, oh, how cool would this be? We're focusing more on how would Imagineering really solve this problem. And I think that's why this project that I've come up with today is so fitting for number 100, because Carousel of Progress is an attraction built around evolution. And it's about looking back at where you've been while thinking about where you're going next at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, we all know this was probably inevitable. I don't think anyone listening is surprised that our 100th project ended up being Carousel of Progress.
Honestly, I'm shocked we made it 99 projects without doing it, though.
Me
Yes.
too.
It,
Yeah.
it really does feel untouchable and unnecessary, but now I think there's a good reason.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, I think that's what makes this one feel really special. Carousel of Progress has always been my favorite attraction, but I think the reason I love it so much is because it represents what Disney does best. It's not about having the biggest drop or the newest technology. It's about taking something simple like a family's everyday life and showing how those moments change over time. Of course, it's nostalgic, but it's also hopeful. It respects where we've been while asking where we're going next.
And honestly, that's the foundation of this podcast, too. We're just a group of friends who started with a creative idea and kept learning and kept building something together.
And the most motivating thing about all of this is the support we get from everyone who listens, especially when you guys leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And we are blessed today that we are able to share not one, but 2 new 5-star reviews that just came through.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The first one comes from SM.
Good luck pronouncing this
Yeah.
one. It's-
Okay.
Maximum.
I'm going to spell this one. Okay, the first one comes from SMXKSMSB, and it's titled Lots of Fun.
That name is
says-
lots of fun. I
That
don't-
that is a fun name. It says, this podcast scratches an itch I didn't even know I had. I've always been interested in immersive experiences and the design and engineering that go into them behind the scenes. The armchair Imagineering concepts discussed on this show are fascinating, and the ideas they come up with tickle my imagination. It takes me back to my childhood days of drawing imaginary roller coasters in the back of class. I can't wait to hear more. P.S. I am also loving the guest pitches and would love to submit a few of my own if the submission line is still open.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
It's always
Send
open for
over.
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know who this is, and so we would love for you to reach out to us so that we can make that happen.
Yes.
And also thank you for this incredible review that is so
Yeah.
kind. So yes, the submission line is open.
I also
Let
just
us know.
love that this podcast has brought us our people, because I too was
Yeah.
drawing roller coasters and random ideas of what I would do to Disney World when I was in high school. So
I mean, I lived on Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
Same.
I
I was
thought
thinking- I was
you
thinking
know,
that
the
too.
best park creator.
Mm-hmm. As my people flew off the side of a roller coaster.
yeah.
12 people have died in
Oh
a
my God.
roller coaster accident.
It was fun.
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm glad that
Thank you.
we've,
So glad we tickled your fancy.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm glad we tickled your fancy.
And the second one is actually not a 5-star review.
Oh, man.
It's from username MagicMac02, and it's titled 6 stars.
6.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Mac.
The
Wow.
category
Even
doesn't even
better.
exist yet. That's
I know.
amazing.
It says, and I quote, "I love these idiots. I'm a decently young, aspiring Imagineer, and this podcast feeds my creativity and Disney love every time I listen. These people might be the most millennials I've ever heard speak, but I actually love it. They make me laugh out loud every time, and I just can't get enough." That is
Thank
us in a nutshell.
Yes.
Thank you, question
you.
mark?
The nicest thing anyone could say to us.
We are the most millennials you've ever heard speak.
That is us in
And
a
we
nutshell.
wear that with as a badge of honor.
What is our millennial badge?
It's probably like a
Skinny
Hillary
jeans.
Duff
A Hillary
button.
Duff CD.
Okay, well there are.
Wow.
That was
I'm going to be
great.
thinking about this every time we say something super millennial moving forward as we record. I'm going to think back to Magic Mac 02's review of us.
Well, you'll probably think that in 1 second.
Yep,
I'm sure it'll come
few
out.
10
millennials.
times during
Yes.
this recording.
Yep. Well, there are a million ways to support us, and a review is just one. So if you're hearing this right now, you're supporting us just by listening. So thank you to every single one of you out there, our ImagineIdiots.
Oh,
Oh, we love you guys.
we do. Well, before we get into our project, though, I didn't want to skip our prompt of the week. So, looking back across all 4 seasons, what was the moment where you felt like the show really changed? Like the moment where you thought, okay, this was a moment of progress or success that really took us to a new level? And it could be anything. So, Marissa, I'm going to have you go first.
So this came to me instantly, which never happens to me with prompts, but this still stands out to me as when I really thought, wow, we're really doing something. It is when we were still doing our Magic Maker series and we were interviewing former current Imagineers, and we spoke to Joe Lanzicero, who was the former creative senior vice president of Imagineering and a Disney animator back in season 2. I did not know that off the top of my head. I just looked it up. Before we interviewed him, I think Steven and I were talking and we were coming up with questions, but I put on something on Disney Plus and I don't remember what it is now exactly, but Joe's face popped up and I was just like,
The Imagineering story, probably.
yeah, that's what it was.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Pretty obvious. And I was like, wow. Okay, so he actually takes us seriously and wants to talk to us. That's amazing. And the interview was one of our favorites that I've done. I don't know the rest of you, but he was just so great to talk to. He's done so many different things. And I really was inspired after talking to him and really felt like we connected on like a professional level, if that makes sense. I know we're not professional Imagineers, and Reddit and Instagrammers constantly tell us that. But it felt like we were truly doing something, that he was respecting our ideas and really liked the process that we go through. So to hear it from someone who's done so much in the world of Imagineering really made me think. I think that we have hit a new level of success on this show.
I agree. I come across his name all the time. I'm reading Marty Sklar's book from it's probably 10 years old at this point, but he's talking about Joe Lanzicero in the book, and I'm like, hey, we know him.
That's so cool.
It was just so
Yeah.
crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Steven, what
That is a
about
good
you?
one.
For me, I would say, I think around season 3, I'd say probably mid-season, we started to go a little more outside of the projects after we finished one, and would start talking more about, what we thought it meant for the parks, and kind of more philosophy about themed entertainment and in general. And I think we didn't have that in the first half of the show. And I think that's for me when it really started to feel like this is more of a conversation podcast than us just presenting an idea that we've put together. And I think that's when I saw the podcast as a podcast and not just a weekly presentation from us. I think that was the big change for me, and trying to figure out how to find that balance of how do we entertain, how do we, find something that's interesting, how do we talk about actual things that are happening in the parks, and finding that balance of what do people want to hear, and getting that feedback from our audience of saying, I really liked this that you did. I really liked hearing that, and just simple comments that people said here and there that made us think, okay, people are resonating with the things that we're saying. It's not just us being silly and making
Mhm.
stuff up.
Yeah.
Jenny, what about you?
I guess mine is less of a moment of like when it changed and more of a moment of like, oh, this is really cool. We have something that people like. And I think a big part of it is just I kind of noticed it a lot last year, and we were actually just talking about it earlier today. Is just this kind of big uptick on social media of these conversations and
Hmm.
comments, and they don't always agree with us, and that's okay. But you realize, kind of like Marissa just said, we found our people. That it is really cool to see so many people comment on what we do on our projects, and either say they like it or say they'd like to see something else or even give their own ideas. And that is kind of a moment where it's like, wow, there's a lot of people like us out there kind of doing the same thing and thinking the same, thinking these ideas as well. And it's really cool to, see that community.
Mhm.
I agree. And what you said about people coming up with their own ideas, I think a lot of it for me is people may see our projects and things online or listen to this show and think, I wouldn't have done it that way. That's not
Mhm.
what I see for that space or how I see the story of that going. But it also kind of gets to a point where we've got them thinking about something and we've
Yeah.
kind of made them think, what would I put there? And we've kind of created this mental creativity for them to have, and in whatever way that came to them, whether they liked it or disliked it or felt completely neutral about it, we did something that made somebody think, and I like
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
idea that we had that ability to reach people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Katie?
I feel like this one's actually hard for me to think, but I was thinking definitely our magic makers, but I want to focus on something else. I feel like also when we started our canceled series, which I think was still in the first season,
It was, yeah.
I feel like that was kind of a different tone for us because we were talking about a historical like event or what happened and around it and why these projects didn't work out. And I felt like that was kind of the first time when we then recreated what these ideas would be or what they should be if they came to life by us. We had to start to think logistically differently because
Hmm.
we had to see what all of the different issues and problems and things that came up during the originally planned project and kind of account for it a bit. So I think that kind of started to change our mindset of how we could, come up with ideas or how we were going to present our ideas. And I think early on we had some Disney employees that are affiliated with the Imagineering department that had followed us and liked some of our stories. And I feel like that was like exciting to see, like, oh, wait, they think this is fun. They think this is cute.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like that they're interested in this. They think this is like a funny idea, even if it's not going to go anywhere. Like they were like, that's a really cool one. And I think we also did it on one of our magic makers. I think we like asked someone, I forget who it was, to like, what would they build if they could do anything? And it was kind of
Oh,
interesting
you're
to
right.
hear them talk about it in a way because it felt very much like how it is with us. But then even going back with what Jenny had mentioned with like our group and our community is like you realize we're all just like this. We're all on the same
Hmm.
page. And like these Imagineers, the more you talk to them, you realize, wait, they literally are us. Like they're just
Mhm.
Yeah.
like us with these
Yeah.
dreams and this creative spirit. And so I think that was a weird way of answering. So I guess canceled, but I agree with what everybody said because I feel like that was pretty big and exciting along the way.
No, I agree, and I think canceled was kind of the point where everything before that had kind of been we were using, like, blank spaces and
Mhm.
canvases that really didn't have parameters around them.
Time out 1 second. I
Mhm.
need the listeners to know our first ever planning session that we did. We spent 3 hours coming up with, the great movie ride, La La Land. Just
Yeah,
La La Land.
that's right,
Just that.
which is
Different
it's
scenes of
not
La La
even
Land.
affiliated with Disney in
No.
We
any
just wanted
way,
it
it's
so
not a
bad.
Fox property,
Nope.
we were just determined to
We
to
just
make that
love La La
happen.
Land so
Yeah.
much.
Love La La Land.
That's where it started.
Yeah,
So
thankfully, we didn't go
that's what
that
you almost
direction.
got.
We
And
may
then
not
I
be
think
here
it was
today if that would have.
Amanda. Amanda was like, "We cannot have 45 minutes of just La La Land." And we were like, "Why
That's
not?
correct.
Why
The
can't
voice
we?
of reason came in.
Yeah.
She's not here tonight to to be that, but I'm sure
Ooh.
she's listening somewhere right now saying, "Can y'all wrap this segment up?"
Yeah.
Move
Moving on. Driving to work now.
Right.
And now it's time for our 100th Imagineering project of the week. For those joining us for the first time, each week our team selects a project manager to develop a thoughtful, strategic proposal for a new or updated Disney experience. Our ideas are grounded in reality, taking into account current technology, existing park infrastructure, and the principles that make Disney magic work. While we're mindful of budgets, we're not bound by them, giving us the freedom to explore ideas that are informed, imaginative, and educational, offering a peek into how Imagineering balances story, design, and guest experience. This week's project manager is Steven.
All right. So when I first started thinking about this project, I honestly felt a little bit stuck. Carousel of Progress is one of those attractions that almost feels sacred.
Yeah.
It's especially if you ask Jenny, it is a Walt Disney classic and it's been around for decades and people have such a deep emotional connection to it that no matter what Disney does with this overhaul, somebody's going to be upset. And I do not envy the Imagineers on this project, if I'm being quite honest, because this is a very difficult task to deliver.
You know what? I was just thinking today. Someone was mean to us on Instagram for 5 seconds, and it wasn't even that mean. But anyways, and I was like distraught the entire day. And then I was like, oh my God, do you think this is what the Imagineers who worked on the skeleton face for Pirates felt afterwards?
I think it is.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. That's why you don't be mean online.
It was that exact feeling that one person made a tiny comment that was kind of mean compared to thousands upon thousands of hateful, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
To me, it
It's the
is.
same thing. It's the same thing to Katie. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I feel like if they leave it exactly the way it is, people are going to say it's outdated. I mean, we know that they're not doing that. But if they change too much, they're going to say Disney ruined one of the last attractions that Walt ever worked on. So I stopped thinking about what I would change and I started thinking about why people love the attraction in the first place.
Animatronic dog.
That's it.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
Rover.
Rover.
Absolutely.
Is it just
And
that? Just animatronic dogs
That's
everywhere?
it. It's just the Carousel of Progress now.
Oh, my dream. Perfect. I'm first in line.
Mhm. Well, I don't think people actually love the carousel because of the specific decades or even because of individual show scenes. And Jenny made a face, but I think you may beg to differ, but I think people love it because it represents this really optimistic idea that progress is something to be celebrated and not feared. And I started reading all of those reactions online after Disney announced the overhaul. And almost every conversation was about what people were afraid of losing. And it's those old scenes and the dialogue and the voices and the jokes and the audio animatronics. It's all the nostalgia that's built into that attraction the way we know it now. And honestly, I very much get it. You know, it's become a piece of Disney history in those scenes as they are. And they're just as much of a part of that attraction's legacy as the building is itself. And then that's when it all kind of clicked for me. Instead of thinking of it like, how do I replace the scenes in the Carousel of Progress? I changed my mind and I said, what if nothing actually had to be lost?
We just gave them new outfits.
Just
Freshen them up a bit.
just new outfits. So the answer to that is not replacing Carousel of Progress. What if the answer to that is building a second Carousel of Progress?
What?
Whoa.
Jenny?
Excuse me?
Mhm.
Jenny, you're getting multiple.
I might be okay with this.
She could be open to
Let's
this.
hear this.
Is it like when they
Okay.
added a second Dumbo?
It could be.
And there's
That's
just-
one way to think about it.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Wow.
Now, before everyone thinks I've completely lost my mind, hear me out. The entire philosophy behind this project is actually very simple. That progress doesn't require replacing the past, it should build upon it. So, let me tell you what I came up with. The first thing I did was stop looking at the attraction itself and started to look at the guest experience. Because if Disney is about to invest this much money into Carousel of Progress, one thing is almost guaranteed. people are going to want to ride it again in bigger droves than before. And no shade to the recent version that just closed, but we've seen it every time Disney gives a classic attraction a major refresh. People who haven't ridden it in years suddenly want to experience, the new version, and the people who have always loved it want to compare what's changed. So there's going to be a big demand to get in line for this. You also see it when it closes down, like Country Bears and the crazy waits for something that
Yep.
no one was ever waiting for.
And
Saw
no
it
one
for
cared
Tom
about
Sawyer
it.
Island. These things that have crazy demand when something changes, just because it's changing. And the funny thing is, though, Carousel of Progress has never had that much of a queue, so it's already just switchbacks outside, and then you're in the theater. It's just completely outdoor queue. There's nothing, more than just weaving back and forth. So I thought, if I'm already expecting the attraction to become more popular, why not solve two problems at once? Instead of just building more queue space, what if the queue became a part of the attraction?
Ooh, like a walking experience?
So here's what I mean. Just backstage inside the Tomorrowland berm, where there's enough room for expansion. So back behind where that Buzz Lightyear meet and greet is
where the
currently,
old AAA
that's also
lounge
never used. The old AAA lounge. It was the Tomorrowland Theater back in the day before it was bulldozed, but now it's a parking lot. I would build an entirely new circular 12,000 square foot show building. Now, this isn't replacing Carousel of Progress. It's not even attached to the existing theater. It is its own experience that naturally extends the queue before guests enter the attraction. And so I've put a photo here for the girls to see of kind of what the idea of building is. And I'll have this on Instagram on Tuesday for you to take a look at.
Is it like Galaxy or Rise of the Resistance in a sense, where like part of the queue is part of the ride? And
yes.
We love
Yes,
that.
it is.
So it extends our
is.
experience.
It does. It's another Carousel of Progress.
Double the cop, double the fun.
Okay.
wow.
And I wanted the building itself to mirror the attraction. The original Carousel of Progress carries seated guests around a series of show scenes, and this version will do the same, but on a much smaller scale. When guests enter the building, they don't sit down like they do in the main attraction. Instead, they step onto a slow-moving circular platform. So think of it almost as like this giant rotating, moving walkway, and you're standing the whole time, rotating around show scenes. So, as you slowly make your way around the room, you will pass 3 familiar scenes from the original attraction: the turn of the century home, the 1920s, and the 1940s. And you'll notice I stopped there, and that was intentional. I actually wouldn't preserve the current 1990s-ish scene because the new version of Carousel of Progress will begin in 1969, and I wanted that to kind of pick up where this left off. So by ending it at the 1940s, the timeline flows a little bit more naturally into what comes next instead of jumping forward and then back again. But here is the important part. I am not recreating those scenes exactly as they were. I'm going to preserve the essence of them. So a few of the audio animatronics that aren't being repurposed may move over there. You maybe see pieces of the original set, some original props, lighting, even snippets of the original dialogue are going to be played. It would almost feel like Imagineering carefully lifted these moments out of the attraction and gave them a permanent home instead of sending them off to storage.
It's like you're going through the archives.
Exactly.
Disney archives.
Yes, you're standing and riding through the archives.
And if you're going on Carousel of Progress, you love the archives. So you're
That's
going to
right.
love this.
Yeah.
You love a historical moment preserved.
Yes.
And yeah, so the scenes, they wouldn't play out as full performances because there isn't really a beginning or an end. I think guests would have to be constantly moving through this space. So instead of telling the complete story, each scene is really more kind of capturing the feeling of that era. So you'll hear familiar snippets of dialogue drift through the room. Like, no
privacy, it's all around this place.
Will play. and you may hear the Sherman Brothers score playing underneath all of it. And And the audio animatronics are going to kind of continue their daily routines and create this impression that you're stepping into a moment that's always just happening, and you just happen to move through as they're, ironing or sewing or doing something. And so it's kind of like you're walking through a living museum, but it's not behind a glass. It's one that's breathing, and you're living in that moment with them.
I like that you're traveling with them, like that
Mhm.
you're on the walkway moving through it, and we're just passing by on our way to our next adventure and tipping our hat to the past as we move on forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny, I'm curious. You were nervous going into this. So far.
So far, I like this a lot. Obviously, I'm one of those people who's afraid of what we're losing. So I think this is a really great way to, still keep some of the past, and it allows a new audience to experience a little bit of that original show. Obviously not the show itself, but I love it. And then, like you said, it makes the queue part of the attraction.
Right. And I think that's a big push for Imagineering these days, and I think it makes sense because it's progress for Imagineering too, to figure out a way to kind of blend and blur the lines of where the attraction begins. And from an operational standpoint, I think it also solves a lot of problems because you've created a much larger indoor queue keyword,
Mm.
and which is desperately needed in Florida. You've also
Yes.
increased the amount of guests that the attraction can comfortably hold before the next theater loads. So cast members could, speed up or slow down or temporarily stop the platform depending on how quickly the main theater is loading. So if there's ever a backup, guests are, waiting inside the experience instead of standing in these
Yeah.
outdoor switchbacks.
Hmm.
And because accessibility would be built into the design from day one, guests who can't safely use the moving platform would have a stationary viewing area before they rejoined the queue, similar to how Disney already accommodates continuously moving attractions. So
Yeah.
honestly, all of those operational benefits are secondary. The real reason this building exists is emotional. And when Disney eventually debuts its new version of Carousel of Progress, I don't want guests walking in and thinking about everything that's disappeared, because I think we're going to go in, or pretty much anyone who's familiar with it would go into it with that mindset, ready to see and potentially be disappointed by not having what they've had. but
Yeah.
but I want you to feel like you're walking into an attraction that you grew up with, and it was respected in that way and preserved and celebrated before they even experience what comes next, because I think that's what progress should be, is
Mhm.
is building on this past instead of replacing it. And I thought about calling this area of the queue, this second building, the Carousel of Preservation, not necessarily
Oh.
the Carousel of Progress,
Aw.
because we've preserved a piece of it.
My only thought is right now is this going to make the queue longer because people are going to be stopping? I guess you're not stopping, so it's
It would be
going
on the moving
through.
platform,
So
and
I
I would
guess it's
also and I thought about that because I thought you could make it wide enough to where if people wanna stop and move and
oh,
there's
that's a good
space to go
idea.
in front of you, you can walk around them.
Okay, 'cause I was just
Mhm.
thinking, like,
Yeah.
are we now creating a line where there was never usually a line anyway?
Mhm.
But that
And
makes
and
sense.
that's part of it. So I think about it also, like, when there are attractions that have long queues that you can't skip, where you're just kind of walking a lot to get to the attraction, it could also be like that. And that also kind of creates a psychological experience to a guest. When you're walking through a long queue, you feel like you're beating a queue in a way. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it
Yeah.
creates this idea
Yeah.
in your mind that, oh, I'm not waiting in all this. Imagine
We're
having
just
to be
walking
stuck
on.
here. And it
Yeah.
kind of creates this positivity inside of you that I just skipped all of that. And so I think
Yeah.
even if there was no one in line, you could still walk through this experience, have the moment inside the Carousel of Preservation there, and then get on to the attraction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is really important. I think everyone on this recording and everyone at home has had one of their beloved rides ripped from their
Mhm.
fingers. So I wish that I had archives or a way to like revisit the past or live through it again. And even if it's like
Yeah.
a taste of it versus getting the whole thing, I like that I'm still getting exposed to this. I'm still seeing this. This is still very much a part of my memory and still very much a part of my experience on this new phase of this project.
Right. And it kind of expands it in a way that
Mhm.
couldn't have been done before.
Right.
And
You're honoring your past rather
yeah.
than forgetting it and just moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So after you've completed the Carousel of Preservation, you haven't replaced the original Carousel of Progress experience. You've actually just, like I said, added another chapter before it. And then that's the point where you would enter the main theater. And the entrance will be familiar. The theater is still there as it was, the rotating platform's still there. You're stepping into this attraction that generations of guests have experienced before you. But before the show begins, there is one important addition, and that is Walt Disney. And we know he's coming.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait
And
for him.
I know, we're excited for him in his blue sweater.
Oh.
Now, I want to be clear, this shouldn't be a history lesson. This isn't Walt showing up to explain everything that's changed and happened over the years or introduce every new decade. The purpose of this moment to me and how I created it is much simpler. It's just about reminding guests why Carousel of Progress exists in the first place. So I'm seeing this as you take your seat, the lights come up, and the Walt animatronic greets you and welcomes you to the attraction. And instead of introducing a specific era, he introduces an idea. And so he would say something along the lines of, progress has never been about replacing yesterday. It's about building upon it. The moments you've just experienced are the foundation that brings us here. They represent the ideas, the inventions, and the optimism that have shaped every generation. And now together, let's continue the journey. So in a way, he's kind of bridging the two pieces together.
That's
Yeah.
cute.
Oh, I like
that.
that.
What do they call it? Breaking the third wall or
That's
breaking
right.
the fourth
Yeah,
wall?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about it in a way that he's not in it.
Right.
He's sharing it with you.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm fairly certain there's probably variations of those words that have been documented somewhere that could be used for this to create sound bites of him speaking.
Probably.
But after he's done, the theater would begin to rotate because that's the moment where everything comes together. You spent the last few minutes looking back at where Carousel of Progress has been. You saw the original moments that made people fall in love with the attraction. And now, instead of feeling like you're saying goodbye to that history, you're moving forward from it. And the Carousel of Progress classic experience begins. And now it has this new emotional context that you're not just watching a replacement, you are continuing the story here.
Dream come true for you and me, so there's a great big beautiful tomorrow.
I was thinking about, I feel like I brought this up fairly recently on the show, but I don't remember exactly. At the end of Meet the Robinsons, where they show that Walt Disney quote about around here, I can't think of it right off the top of my head right now. We keep moving forward. And that's what that makes me think of.
Yeah. You could just do a Meet the Robinsons
Mhm.
Yeah.
Carousel of Progress.
Have Joe Jonas in it.
Is he in that?
No, he sang.
No,
they
but
sing the
that-
song.
Oh,
But
they
that
sing
guy,
it.
I
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
what his name is in
But
it.
he does look
looks
like him.
He looks like Joe Jonas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Now, when I first started working on this project, I fully intended to design the new show scenes. Like, that's how I came into this. I was like, well, I'll do Carousel of Progress and I'll just give you what it's going to look in the decades they've chosen. And the more I worked on it, I realized that wasn't the interesting Imagineering challenge here. That's kind of the expected way to do it. Because I think anybody can come up with what they would want to see in the new scenes. And I think the hardest question is figuring out what makes Carousel of Progress feel like Carousel of Progress. So I decided not to redesign the individual show scenes at all. And honestly, I think that's the right choice because those decisions belong
Mhm.
to Imagineering and they're the ones that need to figure it out. Not that they're listening, but you know, I think like I want to know what story they want to tell and how they want to introduce this attraction to a new generation.
Yeah.
So also selfishly that kind of keeps this episode evergreen because I don't want this to be where we guess what the new scenes are and then Disney announces something completely different in a few weeks and I want this to be kind of a bigger creative challenge and preserve the heart of the attraction in allowing it to evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good approach to it. I think it's also really hard because, yeah, it. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I'm very open to see how they're going to do this and how to make this become interesting and still be exciting. You still want to do this and be a part of it and capture that nostalgia feel. And I think it's exciting to see where it'll go. So
Yeah.
I support you on that
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like if I had been doing this and I didn't know what eras they had chosen, it could have been a little bit more of a creative opportunity, but we know what it is now. And I just feel like at that point, I'm just kind of creating a detailed story out of something that's, it's already kind of spelled out for me. So I didn't want to have to do that.
Right.
Mhm.
And I also think there's so many things you can focus on in those decades and stuff. So I feel like it's going to be, I don't know, I'll default to Jenny, but I'm very interested to see, to like think how they're going to do this and like what are they going to focus on? What is going to be the key points that they pull out?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you remember the original Carousel of Progress, it was sponsored by General Electric. So a big focus of that was modern day electronics and how electricity moved us through this period. But now we don't have a sponsor, right? So we don't
Right.
really need to worry about just that focus being electronics, and appliances and stuff. So it'll be interesting kind of how they look at the progress and,
That's a really
Right.
good point.
if they kind
I
of
didn't think about
expand on
that.
it a little bit.
Yeah.
It was almost more of a marketing opportunity in a
Right.
commercial
Yeah.
back then.
Right.
And now it's a ride in a theme park. Like that's the
Yeah.
difference.
Right. In
Yeah.
fact, the song Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, which was the original, it was actually changed at one point because General Electric didn't like that it was pushing people to think about the tomorrow. So they actually came up with the new song, Now is the Time. Now is the best time, because they wanted people thinking about buying their appliances today. So,
Oh my
little fun fact.
Oh, I love our Carousel of Progress
I
expert.
love a Carousel of Progress episode with Jenny.
but
That's right.
but I do love that we're back to the original song because it's just so great.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring up the music because that's where I'm headed next,
Oh.
because I think that is a very important piece of this project that I wanted to tackle. And it actually goes back to something we talked about earlier, is how do you make something feel new without losing what people love about it, and kind of the overarching theme of what this whole experience could be once they're done with it. And for me, I think that answer was the music, because there is absolutely no world where I would remove There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow from
No.
Carousel of
No.
Progress.
No.
You know, that song isn't just part
the
of the attraction.
heartbeat of the song.
It is the attraction, right? And I'm sure it felt different when they changed it to Now is the Time. You know, I'm sure it had a completely different feel to it, and that's likely why they brought it back, because of what the original song meant. And I think the Sherman Brothers composition really is, like you said, Jenny, the heartbeat that connects every era together. But I started thinking, what if the song itself could evolve alongside the attraction? And I thought the Sherman Brothers composition would always be the foundation, but what if each new scene could have a featured version recorded by an artist from that time period, arranged in the style of that era? So
Oh, wow. Okay.
so go with me here. In 1969, you could feature an artist that's really capturing the optimism and the sound of the late 60s. Like maybe James Taylor, for example, could record a version of this. In the
Oh my
80s, the
gosh.
decade could have a very, 80s heavy energy in production. The Y2K scene could embrace something that felt, kind of like we're stepping into the new millennium. And then the future scene could feature like a current or an up and coming artist taking this song somewhere completely new. So you're still getting the song, but you're getting a different version in every scene that you enter.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing here is that they're not replacing the Sherman Brothers' work. They're more celebrating it, because the genius of that song is the message, and that this always been bigger than one moment in time. And it was written to represent that optimism about the future. So allowing different generations of artists to interpret it actually feels the most Carousel of Progress thing that Disney could do. And we're in decades where artists are still living and still performing from these decades, where you could actually make that happen.
It's like the old Disney Channel CDs that they would cover the song, the Disney
Yes.
classics.
Yep.
And those were great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's
what
right.
I'm
Oh,
feeling
I
the same
loved
thing.
those. What are they called?
Yeah, like Disney
Disney
Channel
Old
hits or
Disney
something.
Mania, right?
Disney
Yeah, it was
hits.
the
Yeah.
Circle
Those
of Life.
calls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
Disney
my
Mania. They
gosh.
were doing. Yeah.
Kiss
Mhm.
the
Do we
girl
get
in
Raven
Raven
Raven.
Simone
Simone for our Y2K?
Raven's coming back for
Yeah.
Y2K. Yeah.
Why don't
Christy
you have her?
Carlson
Yeah, do it.
Romano. Wait,
coming.
she's
She's
doing
ready.
the 1969. We went to
Oh,
the
yes.
moon. Okay, we
Oh,
just got two
no, I
millennial.
know.
Oh, man.
In the
Two
moon.
millennials.
As it came out of my mouth, I was like, well,
Of course it
Oh my
was.
God.
It was the anniversary yesterday.
Well,
as-
I love that we're thinking about this, because as a bonus, I think Disney could release these new versions beyond the park and have these same recordings that guest here in the attraction be released as the official soundtrack with an EP on streaming platforms and maybe special vinyl releases for fans to kind of create some synergy around it and get people excited to listen, and they like release it on Instagram and say now you can go stream James Taylor's version of, Carousel of
Oh,
Progress, all the
cool.
different versions. So then they're kind of really giving you ways to emotionally connect to it before you even write it. So then once you write it, you're like, "Oh, I loved this version of the song. It really spoke to me in a way because I'm a big 80s fan and this 80s version, I can't wait to hear it in the ride."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't want to assign people to all of them because I wanted you guys to let me know if you had anyone in mind. But you said Raven for
Oh. Well, I was
for
kidding, but sure.
Y2K. I was thinking very Backstreet Boys,
Yeah,
Oh.
you have to do like the boy
Yeah.
band or
yeah,
like
yeah.
the
Oh,
pop star,
yes.
the
Mhm.
golden years.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Cyndi Lauper in the 80s. Just kind of like a
Oh.
more like
Madonna.
upbeat boppy version. Madonna.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I think it could be really cool just to have
Mhm.
that kind of evolving version.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, and I like that it's in their own style too, and that you could
Right.
get your own version of the song and be like, "Well, I want the Backstreet Boys take
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
it."
Which it actually kind of does right now. As the scene changes, it is a different feel. Have
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
ever noticed that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, good.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think in my mind I never really
Uh-huh.
put that together, and so
Like
I'm
as you
glad
go through,
that
as you pass through the 40s, it's kind of starting to get a
Mhm.
little doo-woppy, and then
Oh,
once
you're
it goes
right.
into
You're right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Adds
Well,
right
Yeah.
up.
we're continuing that
so
legacy here.
perfect.
But we're just bringing in real artists to do the recording. And it's kind of similar to the Country Bears, how they did that with real country
Mm-hmm.
artists that they brought in too. And
Yeah.
that was kind of my inspiration for that too. And I think that's really the heart of this project because when you're dealing with a classic attraction like Carousel of Progress, the challenge isn't just figuring out what comes next. It's figuring out what deserves to come with you from the previous version. And I think sometimes we talk about updating older attractions and the conversation becomes about what has to go away to make room for
Mhm.
something new. But I think great Imagineering doesn't always have to work that way. I think the best updates don't erase what came before and they understand why people loved it in the first place and find a way to carry that feeling forward. And I think we've seen this with the new Rock and Roller Coaster Muppet update is they carried over some of what was beloved about Muppet Vision and brought that into the queue especially so that you can feel some of the heartbeat there. I know it's not the
Mm-hmm.
same thing and I know that a lot of people are, have very specific feelings about that, but I think that was in their mind when they did it and they were careful about trying to bring that feel back to it. But I think that's kind of what I wanted this project to be is Carousel of Preservation. It's not about keeping the carousel stuck in the past. It's this the show isn't about forgetting the past. The music isn't about replacing what came before. It's all about the same idea that progress isn't about leaving yesterday behind. It's about taking the best parts of yesterday and building something even better for tomorrow.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
I think you did a very good job of marrying the old with the new. And we still get our taste of what we're looking for as we're heading through that queue. So not and I love a themed queue or a ride
Mm-hmm.
extension queue. I love the fact that I'm
Yeah.
gonna be spending my time in there and that I'm basically thinking that I'm already doing this and getting to relive all of those memories. So I feel like it's the perfect way to preserve while moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted you to feel like you don't know where this begins, where it ends. Is this queue? Is it pre-show? Is it something in between? Is it part of the attraction? We're moving, so you're technically on a ride when you're standing there. Like it's all this kind of blend of and then maybe this is something they wouldn't have thought of back in the day. So it's also progress on the attraction itself. You've now expanded to over 100 years of storytelling rather than confining it to 60 to however many years it was in the past and will be moving forward. So
Mm-hmm.
it gives everybody something to relate to and to see for the first time. If you never had experienced the attraction before, you can see back to the 1900s, even though that's going to be removed now. We've got a little window into that.
Your little
Yeah.
relic from the past.
You know, I was thinking about something going back to what you were saying, or you were saying, oh, we could do, we could have basically the Walt animatronic kind of use some old clips of things he said. And actually, one of the things I thought of that is pretty beloved, I think, at least to me, and I think a lot of people, is the current Q video. And so I was looking at the scripting because he does say some good stuff in it. Like one of the things he says is, well, a beautiful tomorrow is just a dream away. That says we're going places. There's progress ahead, and that's just the mood we want for this whole pavilion. And so I think you can pull some of what he said in that Q video to bring a little bit more of that to,
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually use that
yeah.
and pieces of that. And makes me wonder, will that not be featured in the new attraction,
Yeah.
Walt? You know what I mean?
Because it
In the
was so
queue.
great, especially for a
Mhm.
lot of people who didn't get to live in the time that Carousel of Progress was created. It was a nice
Mhm.
little kind of 5-minute clip for you to get acquainted with the attraction and the idea behind it.
Yeah, it's very documentary style, but I'm wondering if now that he's in the attraction, there's no need for that.
Yeah, true. Well, true. So hopefully maybe they pull something from it because
Yeah. That would be
I loved it.
an interesting first observation for us to look for when they do
Yeah.
reopen it.
Yeah.
I'm curious also if we will get any more detail about this at D23 this year.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
I don't know.
I'm curious. I know we talked about it last week that the theme, or kind of the loose theme around the experiences showcase, is Carousel of Progress.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that means we'll get a taste,
Yeah.
a little bit
Some
more detail,
more.
maybe some pictures or videos of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I would love that. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. So I want them to make me excited. So
Do we have any idea when it will be opening?
It's next year. We know it's 2027. So
For
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
I'm expecting they'll do this pretty quickly. I mean, it's already down. So I think depending on how much they're changing, it could be a
Mhm.
quick turnaround, and how much they'd already been working on that we didn't know.
Right.
You know, like how much is just, we've got this built already, we just need to switch it out type thing.
Mhm.
Like I remember when they closed down Frozen Ever After, and it was like the quickest turnaround, and they had
Oh,
those new
yeah.
animatronics in there and reopened. It was like 2 weeks or something, maybe even less, but
Yeah.
yeah. Now, I do want to give my quick creative intent park map description for the new Carousel of Progress. I did not actually write one because we don't
What?
know exactly what it will be yet. And I didn't
Oh.
want to leave a hole in my description. So that one is TBD.
Ooh,
Oh.
maybe
We'll
part
see.
2 will be next season.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that, my idiots, is our 100th original Imagineering project.
That's
I
a
felt
good
like it was
one.
a
Oh my
perfect
gosh,
one
yes.
for
Good
that.
topic.
That's a
you.
great one.
Thank you. I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me, and I texted Katie about this last week saying, like, it's the 100th project. I feel like it has to be something that's like so good. It's so mind blowing. I was thinking, like, this has to be like the craziest e-ticket experience you've ever
told him to get a
thought
grip.
of. She did. She was like, can you calm it down? And then I was like, you know what? It doesn't have to be over the top. It just has to
Mhm.
feel right.
Yep.
And it
Mhm.
felt
we do
like
this all the
it felt
time.
right.
Yeah.
We do this all the time. Just another project.
It's just
Doesn't
another
have to
project.
be
That's
crazy.
exactly what he said. Just another project.
Yeah,
And I was like, is it? But
it's a good one. It's.
I
I
think we
like.
landed in the right place.
I like that we're Walt centered for
Yeah, yeah,
our
yeah.
100th.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
really
Agree.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is one that I thought we'd never actually do because we thought it was
Yeah.
so perfect. And now we have the real opportunity to do it because they said, we're doing it. So we're doing it. But yeah, 2 weeks ago, we celebrated our 150th episode of Idiot's Guide to Imagineering. Today, we're celebrating 100 original projects. And somehow next week, we're celebrating another huge milestone at 3 years of this podcast.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
3 years.
Wow, that's crazy. I just remember when we were sitting here talking about it.
I know.
So, seriously, thank you to everyone who has listened, shared an episode, followed along with a project, or supported what we do. We truly would not be here without you.
And the timing of all of this is pretty perfect because we're not slowing down anytime soon. You'd never allow it.
Nope. That's right. Next week is the season 4 finale, and we are ending the season with our biggest competition yet. 3 original Villains Land concepts from Katie, Marissa, and Jenny. And Amanda and I will be judging which one we think would make the strongest addition to the land. So you definitely want to hear that.
Better be me.
I'm nervous. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you better be nervous, girl. You better be
that's
nervous.
right.
Katie
I'm
is
not
confident.
competitive.
Okay.
I'm not competitive.
Well, don't worry, because just a few days later after that, we're headed to Anaheim for D23.
Ooh, we cannot wait to bring you along with everything happening at the event and all the announcements coming out of the Disney Experiences Showcase. And then on Monday, August 17th, we'll be back with our full D23 recap, breakdown of everything they announced, what we're excited about, and what it means for the future of Disney parks.
So yeah, a lot is happening.
A lot is happening. But for now, thank you again for celebrating 100 original projects with us. All right, ImagineIdiots, that's all the time we have for today. We will see you next week for the Season 4 finale.
But until then, if you can dream it,
You can make 100 original projects on a podcast about it. Bye.
bye.